their election things that I think is dirty politics, and I want to see what can be done about straightening it out.
Okay. Well, I see you've had my staff over here, so
yeah,
they probably can give me a good briefing afterwards with all the things they've done.
Well, they've been as helpful as they can. But the main thing is, I have had a house here and in Michigan. Well, the one in Michigan, only, 20 years. But the one here, I've had, 38, 39 years. Every year, I've paid taxes, and I've had homestead. Now, maybe she can explain to you why they canceled my registration and I can't vote. Because I've heard two different explanations.
That's true. There's been two. One was the thing on the two elections, and one was on the address. That's on the address. That's not on the elections.
I've got a voter registration card. It was signed in 2005.
And yet they canceled it from 2005 because they pinged her again with another address, and the post office was always messing you up.
Well,
post office was constantly messing her up whenever she went to Michigan and back.
Okay, well, there's I can hear already several different factors. First off, there's no correlation between homestead and voter registration.
No, but they're saying that when they got it back, they assumed I'd gone to Michigan. They could have checked.
But first off, there's no connection there. Okay. The other part is you're right about the post office. The post office is our biggest enemy.
Oh, she's always had trouble.
And it's just getting worse.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, obviously, from what is that between your bouncing back and forth.
What?
But, again, we are required to work under the Florida statutes.
Well, that's what I can't find a statute that says you lose your registration if you don't vote in two presidential elections, is what she said.
Yeah, the list maintenance requirements is very clear. The procedure when we receive no response back after 2 years of no contact. You didn't vote in either, I'll just use example, 08 and 10. So there's been no contact with this office in voting, no acknowledgement back, because the letters were sent saying, do you still want to be registered?
One letter was sent and came back. You checked with her.
Okay. All right, so it looks like what they're doing is they're setting you up so you can vote a provisional ballot. She's got the information with the canvassing board.
This is only after all this time she came up with this.
So do you just keep sending letters in the summer just to see when somebody gets it bounced back?
We are required by law in the odd year to contact any voter who has not had contact with this office during the last 2 elections.
So it's a temporary registration. You have to keep activating it.
No,
it's a temporary registration.
It's a permanent registration unless there is some change to your record. And when we don't hear from somebody in that 2-year period...
Well, that would be no change, actually.
But I have to go based on, the law says I have to mail something. I then have to follow what the mail tells me when it comes back. And when the post office tells me it's undeliverable, that there's no, it's coming back undeliverable to us, the assumption of the law is that they're no longer there. And then they get moved into the inactive status.
But when people register to vote, they don't assume it's temporary. They assume it's permanent.
It is.
It's temporary. It's temporary because if you don't keep confirming it, you get thrown off the rolls.
But for the average voter who participates either by absentee voting, early voting, making an address change...
Well, that's 15% of the population.
Right. Obviously, we've gone round and around in a circle on this, so I'm going to let her, at this point, set you up so you have a ballot that will be
What was the
provisional.
thing that they said you could do too, you could get before committee?
The canvassing board, she has that information right here. So I'm going to turn you back over to Pat, who's been working with you on it. And here's the ballot. Here's the information about the canvassing
board. Can I just ask you what probably the spirit is behind this law?
Well, the idea is to keep the list active, but keep it clean.
Get people off that aren't your party without them knowing it.
Okay, now I can only tell you what I am required under the law to do.
And nobody's notified of all this. Nobody knows all this.
Nobody knows that the registration's temporary
It's
based
not
on
temporary.
participation.
See, we're disagreeing, and I get
Okay,
this
that's
point.
linguistics.
Let's take care of the issue.
In other
And
words,
then
I'll
the
put it this
record
way.
will be
It's a
updated.
permanent registration, but it has to be continually updated.
So
It's a permanent registration, but it has to be continually validated and updated. But it is permanent.
it's permanent, but it's the responsibility of the voter to
To
keep the
vote.
record active.
Yeah.
Then
By
you
keeping
have
it
to
active is
tell
having
them
contact.
They
We
have to be
do. I
informed.
send every voter a sample ballot before the election. We send notices to anybody.
So if
who
any of
questions.
those happen to bounce back, you're dead. You can't vote.
Well, then that's where you need to go speak to the United States Post Office, because if you were having your mail forward to you in Michigan or something, you would know. But then again, I'm telling you, again, I'm at the mercy of the Postal Service, but I'm also at the mercy of the law. And the law says that
We need a
method for
copy
me
of that
doing
law.
it-
We didn't get that law. That if you don't vote, you lose your registration. We don't have a copy of that law.
It doesn't say it in that term. It talks about the list maintenance.
Okay.
It's under the list maintenance.
No, what she yellowed here is the list maintenance having to do with the address,
That's
not
what
having to do with the
triggered me.
voting. Yes,
Okay.
but she said that initially that was due to the voting. So